Hello and welcome to the Productive on Purpose podcast. Are you a high-achieving woman of color who struggles with imposter syndrome, procrastination, and self-sabotage? Are you tired of going to bed each night hoping that tomorrow will be a better day, only for it to be more of the same? Are you sick of empty affirmations that make you feel good but don't actually lead to change? And are you over being shamed and yelled at to do the work with no insight as to how to get it done? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then friends, you are in the right place. I am your host, Dr. Kimmy, an award-winning, board-certified physician and professor. I am also your purpose coach. Here on the POP Podcast, we are about actual transformation. This podcast will provide actionable strategies to help you walk in your purpose. Let's get started. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so excited that you are spending your Monday morning here. Well, actually, you might not be listening on a Monday. Who knows what day of the week it is for you, but I'm happy that you are here. Today's episode is going to be something that, I always like to think about and do things a little bit differently. So you'll learn that on the podcast that I am not someone that's going to spout off kind of like empty euphemisms that other people are using. I really try to go a little bit deeper on them, like the affirmations that we're saying, etc. Figure out what is the truth behind it and what are actionable strategies that we can take to move us toward our goals. If the affirmation works, hey, let's use it. But if it's just kind of all fluff and making us feel good, but isn't actually leading to change, well, then I'd rather use something that actually does work. So today's episode is going to be about the power of comparison. Now, I know that there's a lot of self-help books and gurus and influencers and from all across the spectrum who will tell you, do not compare yourself to others, right? However, I like to just think about things a little bit differently. And I am actually telling you in this episode that I want you to compare yourself to others. And I know that sounds bonkers. And before you turn off the podcast, unsubscribe, and write me a review saying that I'm a crazy person, I need you to just hear me out. Just hear me out, okay? I do think that the way you approach comparison and the way I have chosen to approach it can really be a game changer for you. But first, I always want to read a review that someone in the squad has left because I am so grateful for the reviews that you guys give. When you review the podcast, it really, really helps to spread the word because Apple Podcasts will put the podcast in front of other people. So this review, is titled Fangirling, Not Just for Boy Bands. Y'all are killing me with these titles. I love it. You guys are so creative. I love the squad. So this is from Monique HP. And Monique says, clearly, I'm not one to gush, but this podcast is worth my time. Real, practical advice from someone who has the same career and life challenges I do. Knowing glances and nods included. How refreshing. Thank you, Monique HP. I am so grateful that I get to do this every single week and that, somebody messaged me the other day. I think, I've said this before, but somebody else messaged me and was like, I really feel like you're like spying on me when you record these episodes. And I'm like, well, it's great to know that we're not alone, right? It's great. So thank you. Please keep the reviews coming. And when you leave a review, when you leave the star rating, also leave a comment. It's really, I just like to know how you guys think about the podcast and what you're thinking and feeling. And you can always email me, contact@productivepurpose.com if you have an idea for a future episode. Okay, so I wanted to talk about comparison. And I want to start off with the way I used to approach comparison and the way many people approach comparison, the way I've seen it approached on TV and on Instagram. It's really heavy in Instagram culture, YouTube culture, to talk about the power of not comparing. And I just want to turn that on its head a little bit and say we should all be comparing ourselves to other people. I know that sounds crazy, but just hear me out. Okay, so let's see. I wanted to share a story with you guys of how my prior way of thinking about comparison really almost made me self-sabotage a really, really crucial and very big opportunity that I was given. So last summer, it was early in the summer. This was before I started making some of the changes that I talk about on this podcast. I was starting to make those changes and starting to see some improvement, but I wasn't fully there. Excuse me, not last summer, 2 summers ago. 2 summers ago, definitely wasn't there. I was not in the place that I am now. So the summer of 2018, I attended a conference for my specialty, and the presenters at the conference did a really, really great job in terms of the keynote address. But I think I made a comment that we needed more diversity. Now, be careful what you comment on or wish for, because it just might happen. So the organizer for last year's event was someone that I worked closely with at my residency program. So she texted me one day. I was walking in the hospital. I'll never forget it. And she was like, "Hey, do you want to give the keynote address at next year's conference?" And I was just like, "Wait, what? Like, huh? Me?" And she was like, "Yeah, we've heard that you're a really great speaker, and I really think you would do an excellent job." So I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I accepted. And then I subsequently self-sabotaged, because that's my life, right? That's what I do, right? That's what I did. That's what I used to do. So the perfectionism, I got really, really nervous about this. So let me tell you about this conference real quick. This is a conference for my specialty, the largest one for my subspecialty. It happens every summer. The keynote address, everyone goes to that address. Everyone goes. It's going to be like 1,600 people sitting in a room looking at me, because it's actually like really highly anticipated. People talk about it all year, and it is a big deal to be asked to be a presenter, a huge deal. I was so incredibly honored. But then I got super nervous, right? Because I started second guessing myself. I started doubting whether or not I could do it. That's not true. Let me stop. I knew I could do it. I knew I could do a good job, but I was feeling that imposter syndrome. Like, who am I? Who am I to be doing this conference? Who am I to be invited? Like, what are my qualifications? Why me? Comparing myself to past presenters. And then I was introduced to my co-presenters. So there's always 2 presenters every single year for this conference. I want you guys to go all the way back. Think back to episode number, I guess that was number 2. Or was it 1? It could have been 1. I'm getting super confused. I don't know. But it was the episode when I talked about my residency experience. So for those of you who didn't listen, go back and listen to that episode, but I'll give you a brief synopsis. In residency, I had an attending who was basically terrible. One particular night, after I'd been up for 30 hours, he sat me down and gave me very harsh feedback that included the word stupid. And so, needless to say, it was a horrible experience for me. one of my lowest, but it led to the transformation. It was the very first step in this transformation of me being who I am today, because I sat down with one of my senior residents and she told me basically how to get my life together, right? So I'll let you go back and listen to that episode. So got my life together, right? The rest of residency was fabulous. I had a great time in residency. My program was amazing. Everyone was super supportive. It really, really was just this one guy. That was the only negative experience I had during residency. So my third year of residency, y'all, I'm doing an elective. So I wanted to go into hospital medicine, and I'm doing an elective. So I signed up for this elective. The very first day, I am paired with the same attending from intern year who gave me a hard time. But I tried to stay positive. I remember trying to smile a lot that day, even though I was feeling very, those feelings of imposter syndrome were creeping back in. But I remember smiling, being polite, and that's how I always am. But I tried to turn it up a notch because I was like, okay, I don't want this, I don't want to have a negative experience. I want to enjoy this experience of hospital medicine. So I'm going to rounds with him. So we're going to see the patients. Before that, we had a meeting with some of the other doctors who were taking care of the patients with us. So we sit down. We're in this meeting room and it's a bunch of people. I am the only Black person. I wasn't the only woman, but I was the only Black person in the room, the only person of color at all. And he makes a joke. And I don't remember exactly what the joke was. I wish I could remember, or maybe I don't, because I'm sure it was really crass. But he made a racially insensitive joke. That's all I can remember. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember this next part. So he made the joke and people sort of like half chuckled / half, you know how people are when you tell a joke that is like rude or racist or it's like super problematic, but people don't feel uncomfortable and they kind of give you that uncomfortable laugh. That's kind of the vibe of what was going on in the room. People kind of like half chuckled. Some people like cringed. So he said at that moment, what? I mean, we're all white here. That's what he said. And then everyone was silent because I'm literally sitting right next to this man when he's like, oh, what? We're all white here. And I'm just like, what? So I did not know what to do or say. I didn't say anything. I felt so incredibly uncomfortable, self-conscious. It was a horrible moment. This is the same guy, like you would think that, I don't know what his problem was, but he either didn't even acknowledge my presence, like completely dismissed me and just was pretending that I was not a part of the team and not there, or he was just like, whatever, like, I don't know what, it was so bizarre. It was bizarre. I don't even know what to say. So after that, there was a lot of tension in the room. I just remember palpable tension in the room, right? Because first he made this racially insensitive joke, and then he says, oh, we're all white here, when clearly there's someone there who is not white. So the rest of the day was super awkward. We went to see patients in the morning, and then he said to me, okay, Kim, why don't you see this next patient on your own, do the full history, do the physical exam, and then get back to me in the afternoon. We'll meet up in the afternoon. He gave me a specific time. I believe it was 1 p.m. because I just remember it being after lunch. He said, let's meet up at 1 p.m. and let's, see the patient together. So I said, okay, that sounds great. That sounds like a plan. So I go and I see the patient. I do my full, history. I do the physical exam. I go eat lunch. I come back 1 o'clock, ready to meet up with the attending to do what I have to do. And would you know, this man never showed up. I stayed there for hours. I was there for hours. And he just decided not to show up. He never came. Never even. And I'm pretty sure I sent him a message saying like, hey, I'm here. He never came. Just left me completely high and dry. Left me hanging, which is super duper duper unprofessional, right? But that's what he did. So I was just like, you know what? I hope I never have to see this man again. I hope I never have to see and interact with this man again. Well, I did have to see him again 2 times. The first time was my very last day in Cincinnati. So what are the odds, right? So I am literally walking out of the hospital. My husband and my son are in the garage as we are about to drive from Cincinnati to Florida, leaving Cincinnati for the last time. I haven't been back since I left. I do want to go back, but I haven't been back since I left. So I went to the cafeteria of the hospital. I just said bye to all of my colleagues, said bye to everyone. I leave the hospital. I'm leaving to go drive to Florida to start my new life. Okay. I stop in the cafeteria to get snacks for my son before we go. Tell me who I see there buying his lunch. And I was just like, really? Sometimes God just has a sense of humor, or he's trying to like teach me something. But in the moment, I'm just like, really? Seriously? Why does this have to be the last person I see before I leave? And then the next time I saw him was at the same conference that I'm being invited to speak to. So that's where this comes in, because you're probably like, why is she telling this story? This man goes to this conference, as far as I know, every year. I'm now invited to be the keynote speaker. And then I am introduced to my co-presenter. It wasn't, I know you're thinking, you're like, no, don't tell me it was him. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. Because I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I'm just being honest with myself. It wasn't him, but the guy, my co-presenter, literally looks, and I don't know about acts, but he looks very much like the gentleman, like the attending, the mean one, right? So when I get introduced to him, I am immediately put back into intern year, my first year of residency, and I am already like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible idea. I mean, full on imposter. Like I said, this is before I made any of the changes I have made in my life. So full on imposter mode. I am literally, we'd schedule a meeting to go over the slides, to go over what we're going to be doing. I'm showing up late to the meeting. I'm unprepared, like just full self-sabotage mode. Because when I feel like an imposter, that's what I do. I sabotage my own self. Some people feel like an imposter and it turns them into a perfectionist. I am the opposite. I start procrastinating. I start showing up late. I'm not doing my best work. And the thing about me is I know, and this is like not me trying to toot my own horn, but you know what? It's okay to toot your own horn too. So if it is me tooting my own horn, that's fine. But I am a really, really good public speaker. And I knew that I could do a really good job at this conference. But here's where the mental block came. I basically said, okay, I have to give this talk. Not only am I giving it knowing that the attending who tormented me, he didn't really torment me, but who basically made my life very difficult and made me very, very self-conscious in residency, I know he's going to be in the audience, number one. Number two, the guy I'm on the stage with reminds me of this dude. So it's like literally I'm in like shutdown mode, full on. I am like not even trying to look at, so we had to review articles for this presentation. I didn't even want to open the articles. I didn't want to read them. I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I didn't back out because I'd given my word. And in fact, I had signed a contract. So I didn't want to back out, but I knew I could do a good job, but I just was not showing up as my best self. And here's where the comparison came in. I told myself, my co-presenter is older than me, which he was. He has more experience than me, which he did. He's more like the attendees in the audience, right? He's more like them because he's older. He's a white male, and so I'm already like putting myself at a disadvantage by comparing myself negatively to him and saying he is going to relate better with them. So the thing about this keynote is it's giving like heavy duty topics, right? On pediatric hospital medicine, which is my specialty. So traditionally it's been kind of peppered with comedy, with humor as well. So you're expected to make people laugh and to teach them. It is a very challenging presentation. You are at the same time expected to make people laugh and make people entertained and enjoy themselves and teach people like statistics and, talk about these complex studies. It is beyond, right? Which is why they give you an entire year to present it. You need the whole year to go through we went through thousands of articles. It was a big deal. But I started comparing myself from a place of scarcity. Essentially I was saying he's better than me, right? I didn't use those words because I don't think I would ever like come out and say like, oh yeah, he's better than me. But essentially that's what I was saying, like he can relate to the audience better. His jokes are probably gonna be jokes that they understand. They're probably not gonna get my jokes. He's more like them. They're gonna get him. He's gonna relate to them more. I was just in full on imposter mode. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I was not up to snuff. Like there was no reason for me to be there. Like, why me? Why did you choose me? So I actually had to sit down with my therapist and we had to work on this because it was becoming, first of all, it was getting down to the wire. Okay. It was getting down to the wire. It was like May. And there was a certain amount of work that I should have had done that I did not have done. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I sat down with my therapist, and actually I sound all like eloquent about it now because of how I processed it in therapy, because I did not even realize that my imposter syndrome stemmed from that encounter with that attending, those encounters with that attending years ago. Now you're like, but there's a clear line between you getting that feedback, what happened third year, and you feeling like an imposter. I know that's because that's how I'm presenting it now, as a clear line, but I was not aware. I had no self-awareness at this time. I was like, I don't know, like I'm just shutting down. I should be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And my therapist was the one that said, he made you feel like an imposter. You expect him to be in the audience, and the guy you're working with reminds you of him. Like, of course you're shutting down. Of course, right? And so I want to talk to you guys about how I overcame that. So just a little bit of a spoiler alert. The presentation, right? The keynote that I procrastinated on and I wasn't giving it my all. And up until May, we did it in July. Up until May, I was still like super shaky. We'd be in meetings. We were doing, running through the presentation. I was nervous. I was making mistakes. It was just a hot mess at the time, right? Your girl killed it. Okay. Your girl killed it. And I am not just saying that to brag or to boast. I killed that presentation. I did such a great job. I'm so proud of myself for how amazingly well that presentation went. it is to the point that has led to several other keynote invitations. That's how amazing it was. In fact, I don't know if that attending was in the audience because I didn't look for him, but I hope he was. I hope he was there. And I hope he saw that I did an amazing job. So I want to tell you how I got from woe is me, I don't know how I'm going to do this, to getting on stage and delivering an amazing presentation. All of the feedback we got, the written comments, were about my portion. And again, not trying to brag or boast, but also my co-presenter not only did he look like my old attendee, he was trying to treat me like that too. He was very patronizing and condescending. And I did not like the way that we worked together. Part of that was my own energy. I think he was feeding off the energy I was giving him, but he definitely took advantage of it and ran with it. And so he had to come to me afterwards, and he was shocked. He was shocked that I did such a great job, and sent me a message after we got the feedback, because basically all the feedback was about how I did. So how did I overcome? How did I get to the place of being able to do an amazing keynote address? Okay, so the first part is, right, I got it out. So I talked to my therapist about it, and she was able to make that link and make that connection. So I was comparing myself to this guy, and I was making myself out to be less than, when in reality, we were different. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I was any less than him, right? We were being seen by our colleagues as colleagues. He and I were seen as colleagues, that we could work together to do this presentation. And so my therapist was the first person that pointed that out to me. She's like, well, he's your co-presenter. He's not above you. He doesn't hold rank over you. You guys have the same rank. You guys are doing the same thing, you split half and half, right? And so it took a while for that to kind of sink in, right? But what I did, and she helped me through this, is I asked myself a series of questions of, is this true? So on the last episode, we talked about the why questions. The why questions, asking yourself a series of why questions to kind of get to the bottom of why you are self-sabotaging or procrastinating. I asked myself a series of, is this true questions. So I took all the statements that I made in my head about how this man was better than me, and I asked myself, is that true? Right? So he's older than me. Is this true? Yes. He has more experience than me. Is this true? Yes. He's a better speaker than me. Is this true? No. I mean, I don't know, but there's no evidence that he is. He's better than me. Is this true? No. He's not better than me. Right? So again, when you approach comparison from a place of scarcity, I believe that is the issue. When you approach it from a space of scarcity, of they are better than me, they have more than me, so therefore they are more valuable than me. To me, that is the issue. However, if I see someone now, I have completely kind of changed the game. If I see someone now that has the car, the house, the career, whatever it is that I would want, I now approach comparison from a place of abundance. So it sounds a little something like this. That person has the car, the house, the career, whatever they have that I would want. That is great for them. And if they have that, there's no reason I can't have that, because they are not better than me. I am a child of God the same way they're a child of God. I am talented the same way they are talented, maybe in a different form, but they're not better than me. They are not more than I am. I am enough. Right? And so I now approach comparison from that standpoint, and it has changed the game. I am starting to learn that the true divide between those who are able to kind of be successful in this world versus not is a scarcity versus abundance frame of mind. Now, quick pause, quick aside. You guys know I'm always taking pauses and tangents. Yes, there is a such thing as a scarcity mindset, a poverty mindset. However, I mean, those things are real. However, I get really frustrated when people blame a poverty mindset on the people in poverty. Yes, people who are poor have a scarcity mindset. They have a scarcity mindset because things are scarce, and that is not necessarily their fault, right? There is systemic injustice, systemic racism, etc. that leads to that. So of course they have a poverty mindset. I just hate when we blame poor people for a poverty mindset. So you will never hear me doing that. It really bothers me and boggles my mind that we could disadvantage people and then look down at them and being like, why are you disadvantaged? Well, because the system put me in this position. So anyway, that's like totally a tangent. That's the kind of work I do in my university work, is like racism and unconscious bias and things like that. So I'm always thinking about that. I always want to be mindful of that I don't want to be perpetuating fallacies or perpetuating kind of like negativity about people who have a scarcity mindset. Yeah, I had a scarcity mindset because I was raised with a single mom who had very little. So yes, I had a scarcity mindset. Now, do I have a responsibility to change it because of everything that I have been given, and who much is given, much is required. So I believe I have a responsibility to change that, but it's only for me to look down, reach down and help somebody else back up, not blame them for where they are. But anyway, those of us who are now highly educated, high achievers, we can change the way we think about things, right? The scarcity mindset that many of us had, in order to cope with lack, with, limited resources, etc., growing up, we can change that. And again, you change your mindset, not necessarily by affirmations, but by the things that you do. So I write this down whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm looking at someone and I'm like, okay, they have something that I want. That's great. And I write it down, I put it on paper. As you can tell, I have a lot of journals and pens, and I always have a journal near me because I always want to be writing things down. And so I just keep it real. And I'm like, that person has that. That's great for them. That means I can get it too, because they're not necessarily any better than I am. And you have to truly, truly believe that. And one of the ways I've started to believe that is that I know I can do the things that I say I'm going to do in order to get the results that I want to get. I know that now because I've changed my life. I've changed my mornings. I'm intentional. I have gratitude. Gratitude is one of the other ways that you're able to shift into an abundance mindset. So you change your life and live a life of gratitude. That will change your mindset to abundance. Every morning when I wake up, before I do anything else, I write down the things that I'm grateful for. Every single day. Every day. When you listen to podcasts and you listen to YouTube videos and you're looking at successful people and you're just like, what is it about them that they are like eternally optimistic? They believe that they can achieve a goal. They go out, they achieve it, and then they keep replicating that. Like, how do they do that? I started listening and analyzing what they say. And most of the time, these individuals are operating from a place of abundance. And one of the ways to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance is to practice gratitude. I believe gratitude is a practice. It's something you actually have to do. You have to say, you have to write every single day. There is something to be grateful for. Even at your lowest low, even in the valleys, when things look abysmal, when outlook just looks terrible, there is something to be grateful for. Always, always, always. I truly believe that. And so I started practicing that. It was right around that time, practicing gratitude every single day, telling myself, this gentleman, this dude I'm working with, he's not any better than me. He's not better than me, right? He's great. He's a child of God. He's, accomplished. He's done whatever, but he's not fundamentally better than I am. He just isn't. So I can do this too. I can do this too. And so I just started I put my head down, I got to work and kept practicing that gratitude. I'm grateful that I even have this presentation, I have this platform to be able to showcase my talents and my abilities and all of that good stuff. Guys, when I tell you that presentation, life-changing. So many people emailed me, texted me, called me and said, thank you for doing this. Thank you for showing me that something like that can be done. I had former residents that were there in the audience who came up to me. They were so incredibly proud of the presentation. Like I said, it's led to other keynote addresses that I'm giving this year. And so I almost self-sabotaged my way out of my success through scarcity comparison. And I wanted to share with you guys how I was able to move past that through the comparison of abundance. So to recap, comparing from a standpoint of abundance starts with gratitude and starts with asking yourself, is this true? Is it true that person? So here's the thing. You're on Instagram, you're scrolling, right? You're scrolling and you're seeing the highlight reel of everyone's life. Your favorite influencer, guru, whatever, right? There's so many people out there who are like, yeah, girl, don't check for what people are doing on Instagram. It's all a highlight reel anyway. People's lives are not that great. But who am I to say that their life is not really that great? Am I wishing negativity on their life? And what if their life really is great? That does not mean my life can't be great, right? And yeah, it is a highlight reel, but that's okay. That's okay because I'm only putting nice pictures on Instagram too, right? So one of my favorite YouTubers, Amy, you guys heard me talk about Amy Landino before. I really think she's awesome, but we just fundamentally differ on so many different things, right? Amy will tell you, and she has said this over and over, if you are following someone on Instagram and they just by their presence, right? If they have something that you want, and when you look at them and you start to feel bad, she says, just unfollow that person. Just unfollow them, sis. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So there's someone out there who is being their dope self, getting blessed, and I'm going to unfollow them because I feel bad about where I am. Well, that's a scarcity mentality. I could also look at them and say, wow, how amazing. They're on the beach in Aruba. That's cool. I would love to go to Aruba someday, or whatever country I want to go to. That's great. I'm so happy for them. That's beautiful. And one day I'll have my chance because there's nothing different about me than them. If that's something that they're able to attain, they have it now. That's something that I can get in the future too, if I continue doing what I'm doing. Why is everything like, oh yes, sis, don't even look at Instagram. Don't compare yourself to others. I compare myself to others all the time. All the time. One of my favorite people to follow on Instagram is Nicole Walters. She is a multimillionaire who lives in Atlanta with her kids and her husband. She calls them the Hubbin. She actually has a podcast. You should check it out. But she posts all the time. Like she'll be in the store buying, her jeans. What I really like about her is that she does high-low. So she buys like really expensive like Gucci stuff, but then she'll go to like Target and buy some jeans. So I like that. I think it's interesting. So I follow her life and I follow her on Instagram. And when I look at her, right? So she's successful. She's a multimillionaire. She has her family. I think she's awesome. I really, really do. But I don't look at her. I probably would have in the past. But I don't look at her now and say, ugh, why is she always posting about her family or, the trips that she's going on? Like, whatever. Like, oh, I just wish I could go on those trips. And, but like, no. I look and I'm like, oh, look at that hotel she's staying in. Oh, I wonder what it would be like to stay in that hotel. That's going to be great once I'm able to do it. Right? Or maybe that's not my goal and I just enjoy looking at it because it's pretty and I like pretty things. That's fine. But I know that at some point I'm going to have the success that makes me happy, and not necessarily chasing after what she has either. But if she does have what I want, and I think it's okay to be honest about that. It's not that I want to take it away from her, which I think is being covetous, right? Like, I'm going to take what I want to take what she has. No. But if she has attained a level of success that I aspire to, I look at that and I'm like, that's great, because Nicole is not any better than me fundamentally. She's more successful than me. She is, but she's not fundamentally a better person. God is not like, I'm going to bless her more because she is my child and you're not. I am his child too. He's got my back too. Right? And so there's a song that we sing in our church. It says, if God is blessing your neighbor, then he's in your neighborhood. And I take that to heart now. I am the type of person, I'm like, oh, you getting blessed? Oh, you too? Bet. That's what's up. Because, hey, I'm here. I'm open. I'm open, Lord. Like, let's go. Right? Like, I no longer kind of do oh, like they have that and I wish I did. I used to do that, and it's so freeing. It's so freeing knowing I don't have to unfollow people just because they got a new car, they got a new house. I remember when we were trying to buy our house and it looked so bleak. It looked so dismal. It looked almost impossible at one point, right? I'm literally sitting in that house right now, and I know no one can tell me otherwise. I know for a fact that my gratitude practice and shifting my mind to abundance is the reason that I'm here. Because I and my husband, we prayed for this, we worked for it, but then we were open to receiving it through gratitude. And rather than saying, oh, they have a house, I wish I could get one, blah, 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 and just kind of feeling down about it, I just shifted my mindset to abundance at that point and started comparing myself. I started comparing myself. Oh, she has a house. She's not better than me. He has a house. He ain't better than me. They ain't better than us. Sis, they are not better than you. They are not better than you. They might be at exit 52 and you're at exit 37, but that doesn't mean that they're better than you. Everyone has had struggles. Everyone has had low points. They're not necessarily better than you just because they're farther along than you are. So take heart, take comfort in knowing that, and just, continue living life, continue doing what you're doing. You are amazing. You are a blessing to this world. We need you. We need to hear your voice. And whatever it is you're simmering about, like that's been playing out in your mind and you're like, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that. You can. If you take small steps forward. Remember, moving to the end zone 10 yards at a time. If you do that, you make it to the end and you've made that touchdown. You keep moving in your zone of proximal greatness. Compare from a place of abundance, not from a place of scarcity, a place of abundance. And know that everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different. The way you get to exit 52, what exit did I say? Was it 52, 57? I can't remember. But however you get to exit 52, you might go faster than me, and that's fine. That is okay. I might go slower, but as long as I'm moving forward, then I know I'm going to get there. And that just gives me so much freedom and so much peace. and now I can just do my thing. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Shoot me an email, let me know, send me a DM, join the private Facebook group. We're actually having a really good time in there. You can check out the show notes to join the private Facebook group, the Pop Squad. Join us in there. Let's celebrate our wins together and just really support each other. And yeah, please leave me a review. If you think about it, whenever you do, I would really appreciate it. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to another episode. I will catch you next week, next Monday, and every single Monday for another episode of the Pop Podcast. All right, y'all. Thanks. Peace and love. Thank you for listening to the Productive on Purpose podcast. Now, take the next step. Head on over to www.productivepurpose.com to download your free Planning for Procrastinators workbook. It's time to start walking in our purpose, y'all. I'll catch you on the next episode.